Hello, Soul Family. I am Shannon Pardini, and I am here with my very special guest, Leanne Venier. We are going to have a really cool conversation on the deep dive of how to harness the healing powers of color. And there's no one better than Leanne sharing this dialogue and conversation with us. She's genius. And Leanne, why don't you tell our guests a little bit about your background here?
Let's see. I came from an engineering background, so science and engineering. Left that world, didn't find it fulfilling. Moved to Italy for a number of years, studied alternative healing modalities for several years, came back to the United States, went back to school for acupuncture and Zen Shiatsu, had a very strong emphasis for my own interest in the healing power of color and how color and light interact with the body and the psyche. Also, while I was in Italy, one of the things that I studied extensively was the chakra system, all about color and the energy centers in our body, how we utilize color. And after I had a healing practice in British Columbia and then working with cancer patients, came back to Austin, Texas, and started painting, became a professional artist. And it was through the paintings and the very strong colors in the paintings and the compositions, people would have a very strong response to the colors. And I would have these one-on-one conversations with them about the colors that they were particularly drawn to. So they would say, oh my God, I can't stop staring at your red paintings or your orange paintings or your blue paintings or your violet paint, whatever color it was. So then I would tell them, oh, well, if you're really drawn to that color, you may have this going on in your body and this going on in your life. And every time they'd say, oh my God, that's exactly what's going on in my body and my life. How do you know that? So I would tell them, well, I know how to diagnose what's going on based on the colors that you're drawn to. So that then turned into a series of 3 years of pestering of people to try to put some of this information on my website because they're like, where's the book? And I'm like, well, there is no one book. This is me studying like literally hundreds of books and making my own cross connections, bringing in science and, ancient healing modalities and all of that sort of thing. So finally, after a few years of pestering, I put some of this information on my website. And that's kind of when things really blew up. And I started getting invited to lecture at major medical universities, major medical centers, big medical conferences, other conferences, health conferences, etc., and teach about the science behind the healing effects of color and light. So yeah, that's probably it in a nutshell.
Yeah, quite a history with making the connections within the body and the color. And I just think it's magnificent to where it's led, right? It's like your creations are healing thousands and the word is getting spread fast, with the REDjuvenator. So with that said, why don't we start out with, we're going to do, to our audience, we're going to do a little monthly series of colors. And so today we're going to start with red and orange and really let everyone just kind of tap into this field of energy that this is bringing in. And what's beautiful is Leanne is honing the colors today.
And my
right. So autumn full effect and leaving soon, but I'll let you start telling us about the color red.
Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about the electromagnetic spectrum, the colors that are within that, because there are 7 of them, 7 primary colors, which are broken down into each, there are several colors within each of those colors, but red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Those are the colors that you see when you are outdoors and you see a rainbow after it rains. That's the only time that we see these 7 spectral colors that split up from the sunlight, that you're constantly getting bathed in these colors that are coming from the sun. So I don't have a picture with me of the electromagnetic spectrum, but so the visible light spectrum has all of these colors within it. So whenever you're under sunshine, you're getting bathed under red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Depending on the time of the day, certain of those colors will have higher concentrations than others. For example, at dawn and at dusk, you're going to get a predominance of red, orange, and yellow, because those are the longer wavelengths. So they can come through as you've got the sun rising and setting. In the morning and the evening, the more atmosphere that they have to come through, the longer wavelengths, red, orange, and yellow, can penetrate through the atmosphere. So that's why you see a red sky in the morning and a red sky at dusk, red, orange, and yellow, both basically. As the sun gets higher in the sky, you start seeing more blue coming through, the shorter wavelengths. So now they're able to penetrate, and that's where we get the blue sky. So that's kind of just it in a nutshell, where all these colors come from. We evolved to live and thrive under sunlight. So we respond to all these different color healing frequencies that are found within sunlight. Now, just because people are going to go, what about infrared, blah, blah, blah. I know, because people ask that all the time. So infrared means below red. So infrared is an invisible frequency that is below red. Ultraviolet, UV, is above violet. So you've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Below red is infrared, invisible to the human eye. There's near infrared, mid infrared, and far infrared. Near infrared has healing properties, mitochondrial stimulation, similar to red. Mid and far infrared are thermal infrared. They don't have those same healing properties, but that's what you find in infrared saunas, the mid and far infrared. Sometimes a tiny bit of near infrared, but not enough to make a significant difference for any healing aspect. So I just wanted to bring that in, because people confuse infrared all the time with red, because it sounds the same. But because of the fact that physicists are just pragmatic, they're like, we don't need to come up with some fancy Schlosser Boggin, frequency or whatever. It's just like it's below red. We'll call it infrared. And then they realized, oh, there's actually different categories within the infrared. That's where it became near infrared, the closest to red, mid infrared, a little bit farther away from red, and far infrared, farther still away from red. UV, some other physicist came up, instead of saying near UV, mid UV, and far UV, which would have been consistent, they said, well, we'll call it UVA, which is closest to violet, UVB, a little bit farther away, and UVC. So that's why it can be very confusing for people trying to understand these different frequencies. But nonetheless, going back to red.
No, thank you for clarifying that. I think that's actually quite huge, especially with all these different products that are out on the market right now.
Yeah.
So again,
yeah.
Clarification is necessary.
It's mind-boggling how much misinformation there is out there. I mean, and then, one person writes an affiliate written article, and they kind of pull a bunch of information together that they don't really understand, and they get a lot of things wrong. And then the article is well written, so you get 20 other bloggers that just copy and plagiarize that same article. So it gets disseminated across the internet, and it just spreads all this. Sorry, Marigold. I talk with my hands, it's the Italian. So lots of misinformation gets propagated. But again, I've been teaching about this stuff for a very long time, for about 17 years now. So, and which is what started the whole light therapy industry, because there really was a very minute industry in light therapy where people, there were products for, wrinkle reduction, and then for things like arthritis. But other than that, nobody was doing anything with healing or energizing or muscle boosting. So I brought in all the science and connected the dots and explained how color and light actually heal, and how we can utilize these frequencies. And then after I launched the REDjuvenator, which is my own healing device, which I only launched 5.5 years ago, almost 6 now, I guess. And that has spread globally around the world just from word of mouth, because it actually works. But it's not just a light therapy device. So that's where I started teaching also about the quantum healing energies and the importance of energy medicine and that aspect. So it's not just about the sunshine, you also need the healing energies that are found in nature. So anyway, I digress. Let's get back to red.
Question for you really quickly. When you did connect all the dots and bring the information forward, and were, leading with sharing this, what year was that?
Well, I started teaching about it back in, was it 2000? 5, 6. I'm not good at remembering years in the past. I'm not good at remembering dates. So I always have to calculate, but somewhere around there. So what is it now? 2007, 2022. So 22, what's 22? I do know because every year I add one more year. Like, so I've been doing it for 17 years. So subtract 17.
Yeah, I just want our audience to take note of, how long this information has been out there now.
Yeah.
Because they are coming up with all these red light devices now. But again, Leanne has been sharing this information for so many years. And so I think that's just something to take note as we go deeper into understanding the healing properties.
Well, yeah. And there's a lot of, when I was teaching at my first medical conference lectures back in, again, I can't remember, 2008, maybe whenever, do the math. I don't. So that's where I was bringing in all the stuff about blue light, which was brand new information. I mean, that wasn't being shared anywhere at all, about blue light and photoreceptors in our eyes, and the fact that, the new iPads had just come out. So whenever that was, I mean, you can probably Google it. They had just come out. And what happened was I was hearing a lot of people saying, I got this iPad and I love it. I can read in bed, but I have terrible insomnia now. So I started digging, like, why would it be, like this connection between the iPad and people getting insomnia? So I actually did a lot of digging and found out about this research about these photoreceptors in our eyes that were really, really new in the medical realm, in the research realm. They'd only been discovered a handful of years before. So it wasn't even, there are probably tons of optometrists out there that don't even know about this back then. But anyway, nonetheless, so it turns out that our LED emitting screens give off a lot of blue light. And then I also had to dig into the technology of how are LEDs made and how are these screens made. So, meeting with different engineers that actually design LED screens. So, to get a really good understanding of how is it that a blue light emitting device can cause insomnia. So when I was teaching about that, again, this was brand new information. But so all the stuff that I was connecting these dots, people would find my videos or find the articles and contact me and want to do interviews. So we did tons and tons of interviews, radio, magazine interviews, health magazine, international stuff. Then bloggers, and then it was like a few years after that it started getting so widespread that then bloggers started picking it up and talking. Basically, they'd watch some of my videos and copy almost verbatim what I said in the video. So anyway, but that's how the information just kept spreading and growing. And my intention was to completely shift a paradigm about how people have been conditioned to think that we heal our bodies by focusing on chemistry and putting more chemistry in the body, like, pharmaceuticals and stuff. Chemistry will never, trying to adjust the chemistry in your body is never going to heal you, because chemistry is downstream from the quantum physics, is what's happening in your energy body and your light body. So the energy body and the light body, that's where illness and disease starts. And then it eventually manifests in the physical body. So that's why you often hear people say that, they feel like they're getting sick, but they don't know what's wrong. And they go to the doctor and they do a whole battery of blood tests. And they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's in your head. But really there is. But Western technology doesn't have the capability of seeing what's going on in the energy body. So then, a year later, then the person has cancer, for example. And they're like, I knew there was something wrong. So because we always can sense these things. Okay. So I got off on a tangent again, as I so often do.
So moving back into the healing properties of color, you shared, this rainbow spectrum and how that articulates itself. I don't know if that's the correct word, but
let's talk a little bit more just about some generalities of all those colors. So red, orange, and yellow. This is kind of red, reddish orange. Red, orange, and yellow are warming, energizing colors. So you've got red, orange. I wish I had a rainbow picture here, but red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Again, so red, orange, and yellow are energizing, uplifting colors. Green is in the middle. So you've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Green is a neutral energy, so it's not stimulating or sedating. Then you've got blue, indigo, violet. Those are sedating, calming colors. Okay, progressively more so as you get to the right, progressively more stimulating as you get to the left, or whatever is on your hand there. So red is more energizing and stimulating than orange. Orange is more than yellow, and so on. Okay, so another very important thing when you think of the chakra system. So the reason that I started off with the REDjuvenator formulation is, which is a combination of visible red and invisible near infrared, which all have very powerful stimulating effects on the physical body and the mitochondria, together with the quantum energy healing codes, which heal the energy body, the root of illness and disease, put life force energy back into your energy body. The reason that I started off with red is because that's the foundational root chakra color. And when you go through healing, you need to heal the foundation. You need to have a strong foundation for everything else to be able to heal. So red being root chakra, which is all about physicality. It's about survival. It's about procreation. It's about how we manifest in the world and basically survive. It's all survival, you know, home security, money, stuff like that all has to do with the color red. So in order to have a strong foundation for being able to go up into the higher frequency, the higher vibration colors like violet, which is, you know, indigo violet, intuitive, expanding, visionary, you need to have that strong foundation. So a lot of people don't have a strong foundation because they've been, you know, dealing with illness or pain or inflammation or whatever for many years. And, you know, Western society teaches people that you can eat a bunch of garbage and then just take a pill, you know, eat junk food and then just take a pill, eat all those potato chips and then just take a pill if you're not feeling well. And then if you get sick, just go to your doctor and then they'll give you some more pills. And then if you get really sick, then just go and get surgery and they'll just take out some perfectly good body parts that you could heal if you focused on healing the root of the problem. So anyway, but so shifting the paradigm to have people understand how we get sick and how to truly heal. That was, you know, my big picture mission, which is what now people, especially in the REDjuvenator community, because they get to learn about all of this, how all the things that they've been dealing with, that maybe they've got 10 different medical specialists for this, that, and the other thing, one for my wrist, one for my heart, one for my hip pain, one for my, you know, brain, one for all this stuff, how it's all interconnected and how it all comes from the same root. So anyway, so we can talk about the color red in particular, red being that foundational color energy. From a cellular chemistry perspective, red stimulates mitochondrial function, which is the powerhouses of the cells. So, but I use this analogy because it's like, if you don't have any energy in your system, it can temporarily stimulate the cells, but it doesn't hold the charge. It's kind of like a battery. If you have an old battery in your car and you've let it get drained to zero, you know, and then you can jumpstart that battery. But if the battery's been left at zero for too long, it's like you can put a charge in and it will give it life, and then you can drive around the block. But as soon as you go to turn off your car, the battery dies again. So you have to jumpstart every time until you get a new battery. So what the REDjuvenator does is it actually fills up your battery again, like permanently. It fills that up so you don't like have to go and replace body parts or take drugs. So that from the cellular mitochondrial, which is why you always hear about people with these other red light therapy devices. It's like, yeah, it gives me a boost of energy, but then it goes away. Like I just feel tired again. So I have to constantly do it. It's like drinking caffeine, you know, it'll give you that boost of like caffeine energy, and then it will, it'll fade, and then you need more caffeine, and then you get desensitized to that. So you need more and more caffeine.
I think that's so important. You know, a lot of people don't even understand their mitochondria. And again, it is, you know, your charging station, the powerhouse. And so, you know, sharing in this particular color you know, it's nice that we can emphasize that area of the body to connect the dots for people, again, with the mitochondria, because a lot of people aren't looking at that at all.
Right. Well, and that's where that's what that foundational physical body energy has to do with. You know, you have to heal the physical body when there's illness and disease in the physical body, but you have to heal the energy body in order for those effects to be long lasting. So you can't focus on just the physical body. You have to heal the energy body. So, but again, that's not from just the red, that's from the quantum healing energies that are putting that energy back into the system. So like if you think of your body as a car and your gas tank is running on fumes, you need to fill up the gas tank. You can focus on all this other stuff and painting the car and changing the seats and, you know, cleaning up the interior and the exterior, getting rid of all the dings, but you have to put gas in the vehicle in order for it to be able to drive. So the other thing about the color red, it's energizing, it's uplifting. It also stimulates the sympathetic nervous system. So when you see the color red, and again, visual supports. When I do my PowerPoints, I have lots of pictures to go with all of this. So the color red catches your eye. So when you see a stoplight or a stop sign or a warning or a danger sign, why are those always red? Because it catches your attention and it puts you into a very slight, you know, like alert status where you're like, oh, this is important. I need to pay attention to it because it has to do with my survival. So that's where warning signs, danger, poison, and stuff like that, those are always red. Stop signs, anything that you need to get your attention. And in marketing, it's very commonly used because, you know, they're very savvy about, you know, how to use color to influence us.
Strike, fight, or flight.
Yeah. Well, it's not. For example, fast food restaurants always have red in their logos. They usually have red and yellow. So if you look, you know, go Google it, you know, McDonald's and
right
the box and, you know, Burger King and all of them have red in their logos. And the reason for that is because it catches your eye. So you see it far off, you know, in the day. It's like, oh, there's junk food, you know, like, but it also heightens the senses. And it makes you joyful. So it gives you this positive boost of energy. And so they're using that in their logos at a subliminal level. So you go there, you order food, you eat quickly. It's a positive experience. I mean, from your perception, it's a positive experience. In your physical body, it's a terrible experience because there's so much garbage in those food. You know, I can't even really call them foods because they're not really foods. They cause all kinds of health problems. And but anyway, using red in the logo is very strategic. So getting your attention, getting you there, getting you to eat quickly, getting you to have a positive experience with all of it. It heightens your senses, sense of smell, sense of taste. So all of those, the food tastes better when you're around red. Some of the healing aspects of red, I mean, I can talk specific, well, again, I can talk about the REDjuvenator and the healing aspects of REDjuvenator therapy, and then the limitations of red light therapy. Red light therapy alone can only do so much. So because of the fact that it's not putting energy into the system, it will stimulate the cells to kick into gear. But if you don't have any gas in your gas tank, it's kind of like pulling like what there is in the system, and then it just can't sustain itself. So that's why you get these, you know, people saying, oh, well, I get a little boost of energy, but then it goes away and I have to do another treatment. And then I get a boost of energy and it goes away, like drinking a Red Bull or something. And some of them are actually far too stimulating. But so the REDjuvenator, and again, when I launched the REDjuvenator, I knew that it's like, okay, the red light therapy has a certain amount of things that it can do. But without the healing the energy body, it's going to be very limited. So that's where it's like all these other devices out there, people are like, why does the REDjuvenator do all this stuff? How can it heal cancer? How can it heal thyroid disease? How can it heal deadly brain glioblastomas? How can it heal, you know, Lyme disease? How can it heal, I mean, you name it, because it literally heals anything and everything. but that's because of the energy medicine component that's healing the root of the problem. So red in general, again, when you think about that foundational energy, the cellular, that our body is made up of these building blocks. So it is going to stimulate the mitochondria, the batteries, powerhouses of the cells. From a 5 elements perspective, red is the color of the fire element, which is heart, primarily heart and small intestine. But so heart is the thing, our engine that keeps us going, right? So you need that heart pumping the blood through the physical body. So, but if you don't have the heart working and pumping blood through the body, you're dead, essentially, right? So why do they use red light in the red light district, for example, things like that. So because that, I'm going to talk about general red energy, which again, going back to how it has to do with survival and procreation, it basically has to do with me continuing to live in this physical body and me being able to pass on my gene pool to the next generation, right? So that has to do with home, finances, security. All of that stuff ties in with that root chakra energy and, having that energy to get through life. So very, very physical energy. Where it comes in, where it ties in with sexual energy and that sort of thing. Actually, I've talked about this in some of my talks in the past. Somebody's actually done research on men and women. First study was done on men, showing men pictures of women, the same woman, and interspersed with many different photos. Here, look at these photos and rate on a scale of 1 to 10, like how attractive is she? How much would you want to spend on a date with her? How much do you want to have sex with this woman? That sort of thing for the male part of the research. Consistently, men would find the woman that was wearing the red outfit, even if she was photoshopped and she's wearing a taupe outfit, a blue outfit, a green outfit, the exact same photo, the exact same woman, all you're changing is the color of her clothing. And every time it's like, oh, she's more attractive. I'd spend more money on her. I want to have sex with her. So, and again, this was a scientific research study. So I'll explain why that's happening. Again, because that root chakra energy for men, in terms of like with the opposite sex, it has to do with stimulating that procreation energy. Like, I want to have sex. I will spend more money on this woman to be able to have sex with her. And it's all tied in with that, the possibility of like, I want this person to procreate with. That's where the foundational, maybe they don't really want to have a baby, but that's kind of at the subliminal, in fact, many times they don't want to have a baby, but that's where that stimulation of seeing the color red on a woman will have that kind of effect. Conversely, the same guy, Andrew Elliott, I believe was his name, he did another study a few years later, this time on women. And this was a global study. It wasn't just, men in North America. This one was done globally. So he showed pictures of men to women. And in this case, the men were wearing different colored outfits, or they're wearing red, or they had a red background. Same as what he did with the men seeing pictures of women. And again, universally, the women would find the men more attractive, but the reason for the women finding them more attractive was that they perceived them as being more capable of climbing the business ladder, being able to make more money, being able to provide. And so that, of course, as we know, is very attractive to women, because at a subliminal level, they're thinking, I want to have a husband who's going to be a good provider for my offspring. So again, same root concept. They're thinking about procreating. They're thinking, but now I've got these children. I need somebody that can provide for the children. So for them, the red stimulates the home part, the financial security, that sort of part. It's all the same root chakra energy, but they perceive it in a different way because they're not just thinking about the having the sex part and then moving, you know, like, which is, that's the part for the men. It's like, oh yeah, I want sex. I'm not thinking about the baby down the road. The woman's thinking about having sex and then the baby down the road. So that's where her main focus is. So anyway, that's again one aspect of red. So when you go to Amsterdam and you're in the red light district, I mean, the red light stimulates the feeling and the thinking about having sex. So why are you going to do that? Because it's a monetized, you know, business for women or men, whoever it is that are, you know, in the little showcase windows. So they're going to make more money if they're stimulating that energy, getting that, you know, people to actually buy, put the, you know, put your money down. So
it's fascinating. You know, red has just so many qualities about it. So from your experience, like it's amazing how it's bringing out all these primal aspects and it's connected to the root chakra. When do you tie it into other aspects of healing? You know, go ahead.
Oh, well, because of the fact that it is healing that foundational aspect of the body. And the reason that this is getting more and more confirmation now, because I have the number 4 REDjuvenator, which is blue and red. We're going to talk about when we do blue, we'll talk about that. But that formula in particular is very good for as an adjunct formula to the REDjuvenator, because if you think of the REDjuvenator, the number 3, the universal, that's kind of the foundational healing energy. And then there are other formulations, and I'm about to launch the REDjuvenator very soon. It's like, actually, I'm going to make an announcement this week. I already did in the group, in the community. And the additional healing energies from those different colors, again, they have the same, you know, not the same, but quantum healing energies that are healing at the root of illness and disease, bringing in those targeted frequencies for healing the energy systems that correspond to those colors takes you to the next level. So that's where we see that, you know, especially people with longstanding chronic illness or disease, Lyme disease, cancer, those kind of things really tax and deplete the kidney life force energy, which is really that big, you know, that's the storehouse, that's the foundational energy for like the whole energy body. That's kind of the most important. And that's when people get older and their health starts to decline, kidney energy declines. So it doesn't have to, but it often does. And again, coming from, you know, too much stress and unhealthy diet and things like that, that will deplete that core reservoir of energy. And once you're tapping into that, that's kind of like your backup tank. You know, you've got your tank of gas, then you've got your backup reserve tank. Now you're dipping into your reserve tank. So that's where you see people like accelerated aging. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about blue because, but anyway, we'll talk about that more in detail. But the number 4 formulation is really powerful for accelerating the healing effects with longstanding chronic illness or disease like Lyme, cancer, anything that's been going on for a long time that really has dipped into that reserve tank. So the number 3 has phenomenal healing results. But what we've seen is that when people bring in the number 4, that really accelerates the healing response for those particular things. And we've also seen how pets will, if they have kidney or bladder issues, you offer them the number 3 or the number 4, they're going to go to the number 4 first, because that's going to target exactly what's affecting them at that point in time. So, and then the green, you know, again, this is going to be the REDjuvenator, which has green and yellow, and that's going to be targeting liver, gallbladder, and stomach energy systems to take you to that next level in healing. So again, healing the foundation, but again, you can be like, we have, you know, literally thousands and tens of thousands of people that have completely healed from all of these long-standing things using the number 3. But these additional formulations take things to another level where it's like, I don't even know how to really, one analogy that I came up with is kind of like if you have cookie dough and you've got flour, sugar, and butter for the basic cookie dough. And then you want to make, you know, chocolate chip cookies, you're going to add in chocolate chips and maybe some walnuts. So that adds in that extra level. So it takes it to that cookie, instead of just being a plain butter cookie. Now it's a chocolate chip cookie with walnuts, or in the case of kidney, you know, like salted caramel, for example. I don't so you still need the foundation,
Right.
but you add in the other things on top of that. So
question again, like what boosts the color spectrum, the foundation? Again, the REDjuvenator, it's emitting the long wave of the red light. And then there's quantum energy. There's also the light spectrum that you can't see. Are these frequencies measured? Like, do you know if it's a hertz, or, you know, with the wave, like, to give it a little better understanding?
Well, I mean, this is where people sometimes want to get overly technical. The way to understand it is when you go out in nature, you know how it feels when you're out in nature. You can't measure. I mean, with sunlight, yes, you can take a spectrometer and you can point it at the sun and you can say, oh, there's this much red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. I can see, oh, it's the middle of the day, there's quite a bit of blue. You know, it's morning, there's more red. It's dusk, there's more red, orange, and yellow. When you're in nature, those healing energies that we feel, and you know, different cultures have different names for it. Chi, prana, ki, you know, 0 point energy, if you're thinking from a physics standpoint. That's that literal life force energy that you feel when you're surrounded by trees and nature and big bodies of water, and you don't have a city nearby that's siphoning off that life force energy, because all those toxic energies from the city. So that there's not like a hertz, but yeah, there is frequency. That's real. Everything is energy and frequency. So how do you know, like, you can tell, like, if you're deep in the mountains in Montana, you're going to have an even stronger, like, it's energizing and sedating at the same time. It gives you energy, but it calms you down. So it's not like a color that does one thing or the other and it targets certain energy systems. This is that foundational gas tank energy, you know, and filling up that reserve gas tank is so important. I mean, for people that have had chronic illness or disease. So I don't know if that helps to explain.
Yeah, no, I totally understand the quantum field and the unmeasurable when it comes to frequency.
And and when you experience an energy medicine treatment, whether it's somebody near you or at a distance, I mean, they're sending that energy, they're directing it to you. The REDjuvenator is taking that energy and kind of channeling it like a transformer and directing it to you. So that might be also a good way of thinking of it. But you feel it, you know, and a lot of people, even people that don't consider themselves to be energy sensitive, here's another good example. Okay, so we all give off energy, right? We all are transmitting energy, whether it's good energy or bad energy. People that are under a lot of stress are giving off like chaotic energy. We also give off light. So when you are in, you know, like, let's say you meet somebody and you just like, you don't really like their energy. You just like it, like this person, there's something about them and you can't quite put your finger on it. And if they're standing too close to you, you're kind of like, okay, back away, please. You know, and you unconsciously, you'll start moving away from them because you don't like how their energy feels. So we pick that up in our energy body. We feel other people's energy. We feel energy from electronic devices. We feel energy from, you know, going in a shopping mall, being under like a lot of artificial lighting, you know, especially before when it was fluorescent lighting that would, you know, kind of give you that too much blue light also can stimulate this response in the brain, orexin hypocretin, which makes you feel jittery if you have too much blue light. So when you're out in sunlight under nature, you're never going to have too much blue light because it's, you know, it's diffused with all the other color frequencies. But if you are, you know, watching your computer in front of your computer, or using your phone all the time, that emits a lot of blue light, because that's how you have to design these screens to be able to give off a bright enough, reading. Anyway, again, I'm not going to go on a tangent with all that technical stuff, but you can get jittery from having too much exposure to blue light. And the lighting in our homes also has all these different, especially LED light, you can adjust to do whatever you want. Fluorescent lighting and incandescent lighting was much more limited, but you could, so let's say, have cool incandescent lights or warm incandescent lights. You can push towards the warmer red, oranges, and yellows. So that's where you get that warm light that isn't as bright, or you can use the more blue light. But because a lot of people think that incandescent bulbs don't have blue light in them. Yes, they definitely have blue light. They've got all the colors in them. So incandescents are not better than any other type of lighting system because they all have blue light. There's, again, so much misinformation. People have, because they sell a product like blue light blockers or something like that. So they try to demonize blue light. It's like, no, you actually need blue light. It's really important. It sets your circadian rhythm. It does all kinds of important things in the body. So we're trying to get people to think that, oh, you need to wear these blue light blockers all day long. You're going to cause all kinds of health problems by doing that. Do not do that. Do not block out all
Well,
blue
they're
light.
already doing that by wearing sunglasses all day long,
yes.
too.
Yeah. And
not getting the
thing.
spectrums the body needs.
Exactly. Yeah. And so another thing about the REDjuvenator that like a lot of people discover pretty early on, because there is an actual eye protocol. And it gets rid of your bright light oversensitivity. I mean, like, when you're out under sunshine, we shouldn't be wearing sunglasses that are blocking those healing rays. But sometimes when people are out of balance, they get so, and I was one of them. I couldn't walk out the door even on a cloudy day without putting sunglasses on because it just hurt my eyes because I had so much liver dysfunction. Oh my God, I was like really out of balance. So and liver energy controls the eyes. So I couldn't go outside without dark sunglasses because it would hurt my eyes. I'd be like squinting. So one of the first things that I healed when I launched the REDjuvenator was like my bright light sensitivity. I was like, I'm outside and it's a bright sunny day. And I'm like, I had my because out of habit, I'd always have my sunglasses. I'm like, I don't feel a need to put these on. This is very weird, And then we had more and more dozens of people that, reporting the same thing and then healing all kinds of.
Well, it's incredible. Yeah. I never wear sunglasses just because I know better. But on top of that, because we have the phones and the blue light that's emitting from there, you do go through a process where your eyes will start crossing, right? They'll have all these little degenerative issues. And so the REDjuvenator has been great with that. When, sometimes I forget to treat my eyes regularly, but it doesn't take much with the REDjuvenator to get the eyes, to get the prana and chi that they need back and get everything physically intact again. And so it's such a blessing in so many ways. But yeah, I just wanted to confirm that because I just adore treating my eyes. It feels so good. You feel the whole body light up.
It does. Yeah. And it's like, well, and the eyes are an extension of the brain. So you're also treating your brain. But because of the fact that we are exposing our eyes so much to these blue light emitting devices, which harm the retina and the macula. So I actually had a number of years ago had severe retinal thinning that I didn't even, because I run my company from my phone. So I'm like constantly on my phone and I'm like this, and bright, I want it bright and I want it, but then as you're losing, literally I'm losing my vision, right? I'm losing my eyesight and not even aware of it. Like, cause it's, slippery slope, kind of frog in the boiling water. And I'm like having to, do this and read my screen and like close one eye so I could focus. And then watching streaming video at night, I had to close one eye because I would get double vision. And it just like, these things that start to creep up on you. And here I teach about, all this healing stuff. And I'm like, my vision is degrading and I'm not even like, it's not even getting my attention because it was so gradual. And then I was hired to come and speak at a neurooptometry conference. And back then I wasn't doing the eye protocol with the REDjuvenator. And the only reason I wasn't doing the eye protocol was because I couldn't figure out how to treat my eyes and multitask at the same time. Because I just even, it's a 3-minute protocol, but just sitting there and treating my eyes with the REDjuvenator for 3 minutes, because I have like all this energy, I can't just do one thing. It's just very hard for me. So I'm like, how can I, I can't. So I would do my facial treatments, but so while I was watching streaming video, and I could close this eye and treat with the REDjuvenator here and go like this. And then I could watch my streaming video and do half my face. But I didn't so anyway, I get hired to speak at this neurooptometry conference, and they have all this high tech equipment. You can do retinal scans. And I'm like, oh, let's just check my eyes. And I'm like, the guy who does my retinal scan, it's like red warning, danger, danger, severely thinning retinas. And I'm like, that's gotta be wrong. I made him do the test 3 times because I'm like, it's gotta be wrong. I moved. I know I was moving a little. So, you're talking. So it's probably because of that. I make him do it again. I'm like, same results. I'm like, oh, it's because I've got contacts in. That's why. So let me take those out. He's like, it doesn't matter if you're wearing contacts. I'm like, let me just take them out. Because there's no way that can be right. So he does it again. And it's like, same results, danger, danger, war. And I'm like, okay, this explains a lot now. Why I can't see, why I can't read books anymore. I mean, it had gotten to the point that, so then I'm like, okay, I need to start doing the REDjuvenator eye protocol because my eyes are messed up. And there's some benefit that you get from treating with your eyes closed, but the eye protocol you treat with your eyes open. And please do not try this with any other light therapy device, because I've heard some of them are so intense, you will literally harm your eyes, if not blind yourself, with some of those others. So this is for the REDjuvenator only. If you don't have a REDjuvenator, do not do this protocol. Anyway, so I figured out, it took me a few weeks. I figured out how to treat my eyes and keep my eye open and do the facial treatment and watch my streaming video at the same time. And it's just a matter of keeping this eye open. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that before? Because I can do the eye protocol here, do the same thing and watch the show and keep my eye open. So anyway, that was kind of an epiphany. So anyway, within the first week, my vision started improving as soon as I started doing the eye protocol. Then, and then it completely healed. All the problems went away. It was very fast. I mean, and I only did about 15 treatments over the course of 3 months, just because it took me a few weeks to figure out how to do it with the multitasking. Anyway, so after 3 months, I'm like, everything seems great. I'm going to go back and get another retinal scan now. So I did. I got a retinal scan. I told the guy, the optometrist, I said, look, I want to tell you, I had severely thinning retinas, and I really want you to look carefully at my retinas, and I want to do another retinal scan. So we did all of that. And he's like telling me, in the meantime, waiting for my eyes to dilate, because people a lot of times don't even do the pupil dilation anymore. They just rely on the technology. I'm like, no, I want you to look physically with your eyeballs at my eyeballs. So he, in the meantime, he's telling me, oh my God, you have retinal thinning. It's like, if you ever see any eye flashing, that's like your retina is about to detach. And I'm like, anyway, so I'm like, I feel like it's good now though. So he's looking, he looks at the scans. The scans are like perfect. He's looking in my eyeballs, like really closely, looking for any sign of history of damage. He's like, your retinas are perfect, and there's no sign that there was ever anything wrong with them. So I'm like, okay, that correlates with my reality, and I can read books now, and I'm not seeing double vision. So, but anyway, I just wanted to have that confirmation. And again, now we've had several hundred people that have, reported back healing all kinds of things, including wet or dry age-related macular degeneration. Anyway, but again, that's the combination of the healing frequencies of the red, healing the eyes and the liver, because the liver is in control of the eyes. So doing the abdomen, because I was doing the abdomen and the detox protocol at the same time. So people aren't just doing the eye protocol, they're healing the whole body. Those healing frequencies are going in through the eyes, but doing the abdominal and the detox protocol and the sleep protocol, all of those tie in as well. So healing the liver energy then heals the eyes. So it's a combination of doing all of it and treating where the actual physical damage was already in the eye. So that's where the local treatments are important. So, but you have to heal the energy system that controls the eyes. Otherwise, you're going to have a temporary result, heal it, and then it's just going to come back if the liver still isn't working. So, it's a multi-pronged approach with the REDjuvenator. You heal the energy body, you fill up the life force energy gas tank, you open up all the blockages, the kinks in the hose in the energy channels, the meridians that circulate that life force energy. So it does all of that, and it heals anywhere that there's already been any physical tissue, cellular, organ damage, whatever it is. So it heals the local area and it heals the root of the problem at the same time. So, yeah.
Well, just with that said, look what red can do.
Yeah, I know.
It's just amazing.
It is. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a very strong foundational color. So let's talk about some fun stuff, like how to use color in your home. So, now red being an energizing color, people that are really stressed out are usually going to not want to be around red. So if you've got a high stress job, or you're like stressed out, or, stressful relationship or whatever, that little bit of extra stimulating energy will make you go like, ah. So that's one thing when people first get their REDjuvenator, when they have a lot of imbalance or they're really stressed out, they see the light and they were like, oh my God, it's so like blinding almost. And I'm like, that's a really good indicator. I can tell like immediately when people have that response, it's like you've got your pendulum is swung so far over here that this energy here is now like, it's like, blowing up your world. But it only lasts for a few minutes. And then people will start to feel the other healing energies coming in, and you can actually see how their whole demeanor changes. And then they're like, for like first couple of minutes, it might be like, it's so stimulating and I can't even look at it. And then they're like, okay, now it's starting to like, I'm feeling calmer. And now it's like, now I want to look at it. So, and that gives you not everybody's like that. I mean, that's just a sign of like a really strong imbalance when somebody's had longstanding imbalance, and then they'll get that very jarring effect because that's that red that's putting them into that fight or flight. And then, but then the quantum healing energies and then the whole formulation of the REDjuvenator, then as they continue looking at it, the energy, it starts to come down. So it resets. Whereas with another red light therapy device, those big heavy ones that you hang on your wall, I'm not going to mention any business names, but people probably know them because they do a lot of heavy hitting marketing. But those, I've had so many people that have been like, they've gotten one and they're like, oh my God, it made me feel so much worse so quickly. And I couldn't even stand in front of it. It's like so jarring. And it's kind of like somebody who's caffeine sensitive, giving them a Red Bull, or here, drink 3 Red Bulls. And then they're like, Right. So that's where, and again, and I told this company that I'm like, you're using industrial plant grow lights that are way too intense for humans. They're designed to grow marijuana and other plants, and you're trying to rebrand them as a light therapy device. And with somebody who's not, out of balance, yeah, maybe they'll get that temporary like surge of energy and they like that, but somebody who's sick and depleted, they're going to actually get worse quite quickly, and have lots of real world reports of that with people that tried those. And then like, it made me sicker. It made me sick because it's just that jarring effect without the other healing component. So, anyway, so if you want to bring red into your home, I tell people, don't paint your walls. Don't go all out and paint your walls, because it's much harder to paint your walls and change the paint color. It's really easy to bring in color accents, and you can bring in a lot of it. I mean, in my great room here, I've got one of my giant red paintings. So it brings up the energy in that room because it's got lots of wood and rock, which is grounding and earthing, and that brings the energy up. So, you can bring in, artwork, colorful pillows, a blanket that you drape over the back of your sofa. I have different things for the back of my sofa, which is a brown neutral color. And in my other place, I've got cream neutral. I like having neutral colors for my furnishings. And then I add color depending on the color energies that I'm feeling drawn to. So in the summer months, I will tend to have, like in my bedroom especially, I'll want to have cooling colors because I don't want it to feel hot in there. Plus I don't want stimulation from red anyway. But in my living room, for example, I might during the summer months have like blue that I'll bring in and drape that, or green and drape that over the back of the sofa, or, you know, cooling, calming colors to counter the heat of the Texas, you know, 100-degree temperatures. And then as fall comes in, then I'll start bringing in red, more reds, more oranges, yellow pillows, orange pillows, things like that to bring the energy up. And it actually physically makes you feel warmer when you're around those colors. So super easy to completely change the energy of a room simply by changing, you know, some wall hangings and fabrics and pillows and accent pieces that you know, switch out depending on the season or depending on the colors that you're naturally drawn to. So one of the things that we tend to have a constitutional color, thank you, that we are drawn to all the time, and it can change that constant. But say, for example, somebody's favorite color is blue, and they tend to like to move at an even keel and just kind of move through life. They don't like being, you know, like multitasking, all that. They might like, you know, like I thrive when I can just go methodically and take care of one thing at a time and systematically. And that's kind of that even keel blue, you know, or indigo, those kind of colors that help you stay at a steady pace without getting too, you know, stimulated. Other people like to be going all the time and like having multiple things that they're working on. This is kind of me. And that, you know, mind always going, and I'm thinking about different things, and I thrive in that state. Other people, if they're forced to do that for their work, and that's not their natural thriving state, it will actually deplete them and make them feel exhausted. So sometimes people are in the wrong job for their constitutional type. And again, that can change. So somebody early on might be like, go, go, go. And I'm like thriving and I love being high energy. But as they get older and then they get calmer, and then they're like, I don't want to be in that high, you know, energy state anymore. I want to be like, now I want to just go methodically. So constitutional color, that will be constant for quite a while. And that whatever your favorite, you know, I call them the battery recharge color, whether it's a red or a blue or any of the colors in the spectrum. Then we will naturally be drawn to colors that indicate what systems are out of balance. So say, for example, you've got, well, let's talk about red. Let's say you're feeling really lethargic and you've been so tired and you've been working too much, and you're just at the point, you're not stressed out, you're just exhausted now. Red might look really good to you because it gives you that energy, because it gives you that boost, like that, you know, that caffeine without the caffeine effects. So conversely, if you're too stressed out, you might be like, oh, normally I love being around red, but I just can't handle red right now. And I want to be around some blue or some green or some indigo or violet or whatever, the calming, sedating colors. So you don't even need to know all of the different properties of the different colors. You just need to know what you're drawn to on that particular day or during that particular time period, whether it's a few weeks or a few months. And then that's why I tell people, it's like, yeah, I know right now you're really, you know, craving red, or you're loving that green color or whatever it is, and you want to paint your whole, I've heard of people doing this too. Like I painted the whole exterior of my house and I loved it for about 3 months, and now I hate it, you know, like, and you've painted the whole exterior of your house. So understanding that these color energies that we're drawn to will change depending on what's going on inside us and which systems are in or out of balance, that helps you to understand. It's like having a neutral palette for big, unless you really like painting your wall every, 6 months or so, like if you don't mind that, then that's, but be aware of how, like you might change the color in your office. And I've actually talked to people that have done things like this. It's like, I really love this color blue. So I painted my office blue, and now I go in there and I just don't feel like doing any work at all. Like I'm just like, I'm just going to relax, because they changed the color of their environment. It's like, okay, well, that might have been a good color for your bedroom, but for your office, maybe something like yellow, stimulating mental energy, or something that, okay, higher energy.
Yeah, I just really love this share. And, it makes so much sense how the colors we can kind of interpret on our own what might be just not balanced in our lives and within our bodies. And by you sharing, it's so funny, by you sharing the personal experience at home of, really be mindful of what colors you're bringing in and why, because it says a lot as to what's going on within our body. And so when Leanne was sharing, it made me laugh because last year, I remember I was having a conversation with Leanne and I made a few comments, and she's genius. Like I said, Leanne can pick up on intuitively what's going on in the energy body and kind of tracing it to the organs and such. And so I gave her a little bit of information and she told me to do this certain protocol. And so I was doing the protocol pretty religiously. I was probably doing each area, I don't know, 20 to 40 minutes, right? It was a lengthy amount of time, but what had happened, and I had a ton of red all around my house, accented everywhere. I think I did the protocol for maybe, I don't know, it was like 2 to 3 weeks where everything in me was like, I need to get everything red and purple out of the house now. Like it was so immediate where I had to just toss everything out and start bringing in more neutral colors because it was making me crazy. Because the organs that I was focused on were really balancing out quickly. But it's just amazing, again, this whole topic and conversation of sharing the healing properties of red, but also, this incredible gift that Leanne has created, the REDjuvenator. That has been my experience. So it's just kind of fun to kind of summarize everything we've been speaking about and share my personal experience. So again, be mindful how you are bringing in color into your life, because it does suggest a lot of what's going on inside. There's an internal dialogue with that.
Well, and it's good that you were aware. I mean, because of the conversations we've had, I know that was kind of like first and foremost in your mind, but a lot of times people don't even think about it. And they just are like, oh, I don't know why I don't like spending time in this room anymore. Or, like maybe because there's too much red and you're going through some kind of liver healing crisis or whatever. And that it's like, I don't, it's, and you, working from home, it's like, you need to love your home environment. So, but being aware of that and just kind of tuning in and going, wonder what it is. What is it? And then like, you can really just like, oh, you know what? I don't like looking at this color right now. Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that and see how it feels. Now it's like, oh, it feels so much better because, like if we are overstimulated, we have too much of something, we're going to actually be repelled by that color. So that's where these color cravings can change. They can change on a daily basis too. I mean, when we go into the other individual colors, I'll go more into depth about the, that the psycho-emotional and the emotional, the spiritual aspects of the different colors. But suffice it to say that, so I brought out one of the REDjuvenators so that you can see and it's kind of hard to, so you can see it like shining on me.
Perfect.
But if I turn it there, it's almost like blind.
Yeah, that's perfect. You can see
the different reds, and then the near infrared are these ones that look like they're not lighting up. That forms the pattern. But so the sleep protocol, using that and calming, it's amazing, because even though red is a stimulating color, it calms you down. Like when you use this at night, it actually will reset your circadian rhythm to get completely in tune with what it's great for, like a single treatment jet lag too. But if you can't fall asleep, you have insomnia, and then it's got this, melatonin stimulating effect and calming effect. And I hear it all the time where people, it's this paradoxical aspect. If you've got the red, which is typically stimulating, but at the same time, it's so calming, soothing. People will do the sleep protocol when they first get their unit, And then they're like, oh my God, I fell asleep with it. Is that normal? Like almost everybody falls asleep with it doing the sleep protocol. The first, and like, I continue to fall asleep during the sleep protocol
Oh,
just
I do
because,
too.
and then you wake up like an hour later and you're like, oh my God, the REDjuvenator still turned on. So, and then you just like put it away, go to sleep. But anyway, I just wanted to share about that paradoxical, because you've got the quantum healing energies that are obviously bringing in that entire system healing energy. Oh my God, it got really dark on screen. Oh no, but you're still light. Is that my camera? Do I look dark? Oh no,
there it goes. It's recalibrating.
The camera was stuck for a minute.
Yeah. So again, it's, for the audience that's just tuning into this, this quantum therapy, this light that Leanne has created, it's just amazing. And, our pets love it. People are healing all kinds of ailments. And, just from this discussion, you get a really deep dive as to, the levels that we can go with healing with red, but not only red, with this beautiful red light therapy. With that said, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience, or to kind of tie it together?
Well, we're going to talk about the other colors during different sessions. One of the other aspects of red is that it increases courage and self-confidence. And that's another thing that I've heard from a number of people that, especially one of the medical doctors in the REDjuvenator community, that it's like, it's given him, it has a whole reset, like where his self-confidence has gone up dramatically from where it allows him. And not only that, where he isn't exhausted and depleted all the time after a day of work. So he is able to work with his patients much more effectively. He's a chiropractor, not a pharmaceutical based doctor. So anyway, he's able to work more effectively, and it's changed his whole life. And the fact that the way that he interacts with the world and feeling more courageous and self-confident and that sort of thing. So that's another thing that red in general does. So that's why it's a power color. It's kind of an important part of red, I think, for knowing how when you're wearing red on your body, it's an attention getting color. And it also gives you that appearance of confidence, self-confidence and personal power, and how the REDjuvenator ties in with that as well. Since that's something that most people can use, more of, like, in the way that you present yourself in the world. So and it's not cocky or egoic, it's self-confident, strength. Again, it's that foundational energy. So how that all ties in, I'm sure there are other things that we could have talked about with red. I mean, there's just like, huge amounts of information.
It's all just brilliant information, and it's so needed and timely as everyone's suffering from all kinds of ailments in the matrix. And so there's, again, it's just open, audience, keep an open mind to what's available, and really do your research on information as to what type of biohacks you may be looking at, because you do really need to trace to the origin of where these things are being foundationally built out. And, Leanne, again, I just honor you and all your information and how you're just helping people consistently and staying on top of the game here with so much just noise out there. So I honor you, I adore you, and I look forward to hearing more about all the different colors. And anything else you'd like to share?
No, I just wanted to thank you for spending this time with me. It's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to talking about all the rest of the colors in the future. And thank you for all the work you're doing in the world. Amazing work, helping so many people. So, it takes a village. So the more of us that are out here helping, the better, raise that vibration.
All right. Well, audience, we are signing off, and we will chat more about yellow next month.